Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to cover the last week of Love Island USA Season 5. Bittersweet for me because it's the first show that I've covered from start to finish on my channel. So before I dive in, I just want to thank everyone who has listened to these, tuned in, subscribed. It really means a lot to me. So anyways, previously on Love Island, the couple had to vote for who was the least compatible. We had to say goodbye to Imani and Zay. We come into episode 34 and the Islanders are still reeling from the dumping. Destiny and Kyle, who did get some votes, are confident in what they're working with. And what are they working with? Johnny and Scott also got votes and they're confident in their connection as well. They seem to actually have a bit more of a connection. They start getting ready for bed. Taylor has really great getting ready headbands. She has one that has alien eyes coming out of her head, and the one that she's been wearing lately has cat paws coming out of her head. Meow. The last week of Love Island is notoriously very dull and boring. At this point, they're all campaigning to win by showing that they have the best connection. Nobody's really gonna rock the boat. There's not gonna be too much drama. So they all go to bed. They start kissing and cuddling in bed and rustling and tussling. The next day, nothing's going on. Kyle runs from a big bee. Leo burns himself making coffee. Whenever there's no drama to show, the editors just throw in boys being silly content. The girls all talk about how much they miss Imani. As they're doing their makeup, Taylor insinuates that Johnny and Scott are only together out of desperation to not get voted out, which I think is true, but it seems like they talk it over and kind of clear it up. Hannah and Marco and Destiny and Kyle talk about what life will be like outside of the villa. Destiny and Kyle want to skydive. I think the producers should have called up the Fijian skydiving company. If I'm producing a show and someone says they want to jump out of a plane, I'm setting them up in the sky. Scott sits Taylor and Bergie down to confront them for voting for him in the elimination. And this is just part of why I hated him on his season. Just bringing the exact same toxicity that he brought to his own season. Bergie and Taylor just deal with him. And when he gets up and leaves, they roll their eyes at each other like, thank God that's over. Leo and Cassie talk about long distance dating. As they're talking, Leo's eating a popsicle, and then when he finishes it, he just throws the stick in the plants behind him. But who cares? They're leaving in 3 days and they're not real plants. Also, everyone is just eating popsicles all day. They're more focused on their popsicles than they are about the TV show that they're on. And I guess there really is nothing to do on this day because they play impromptu The Floor is Lava. They set up an entire challenge with pillows to jump on. This looks so fun. I wanted to jump into my TV and jump on the pillows. It looks like a lot more fun than some of the challenges the producers set up. If you care, Carmen and Kenzo won the Floor is Lava challenge that they made up. Then they get video messages from their family. I wish the family was coming out to see them in person. Or I guess what also would have been better is live video chat. But the messages are pretty straightforward. It seems like they asked them, what do you think about your relatives' time on the show? What was the hardest thing to watch? Some of them were pretty boring and not worth talking about, like Carmen and Kenzo's. After Scott's message, Destiny says that he looks just like his dad, and he says, that was my brother. Johnny's sister and mom shade Leo. It had to happen. Bergie's grandfather roasts him for using foul language and then says that their relationship seems forced. Kyle's mom and godsister roast Destiny and then laugh their asses off about it. Leo's parents are leaving him a message, and so you see them on the screen, and then it cuts to Leo, and then it comes back to the screen, and Leo's sister is suddenly there in between them. And Leo says, why is my sister sitting in the back like that? But my favorite moment from these video messages was Cassie's mom. She gives her a really nice message supporting her, and you could tell they have a really great relationship. The episode ends off with Taylor giving a confessional about how Bergie's grandfather says that she seems forced, and then she gives a tearless cry, which seems very forced. It was exactly the opposite of what she needed to do in this moment. Episode 35 happens. They're unpacking how they feel about the videos. They have to pick a couple to go to the hideaway. At first they say Carmen and Kenzo. I don't know how serious this is because Carmen's family said do not go to the hideaway. So they decide to send Leo and Cassie instead. Leo says no matter what happens, I am not putting on nipple clamps. So they get there, they kiss in the hot tub, and Leo puts on everything besides the nipple clamps. Leo and Cassie put on masks, feather whip, collars, handcuffs, blindfolds. Then they clearly go bump in the night. Y'all had a stressful week. You deserve to unwind. You go. The next day, Cassie tells the girls that they went to the bakery and they baked a cake 3 times. And this is code, obviously. They have a challenge where they have to make food tied together at the wrists and work together somehow. This was supposed to be for communication. It ends up just being silly fun. They're also not really playing for a prize, so none of them are really taking it too seriously. Leo is having the most fun. He's just throwing his food around, mostly just throwing all of his food at Johnny. Destiny and Kyle win, absolutely no prize, and then they all have a big food fight. And this just seems to me like it's their senior year of high school, last week. No one cares. They're all just having fun. After the challenge, Marco sits on the beach and cries about losing his mom a year prior, and you really feel for him. It was a very nice, human, emotional moment that really helped you to understand who Marco was as a person. And Hannah's there for him, which is very nice. I thought that Bergie's grandpa's video wasn't really a big deal. Like, brush it off. That's just what his grandpa was saying. But he seems to really take it to heart. and there's a big disconnect before the evening's events between Bergie and Taylor. He starts being worried about their distance. Then they walk away from each other. Bergie goes to talk to Hannah and Marco about it, and then Bergie and Taylor are going to talk about it again. But as they're going to talk about it again, they bump into Sarah Hyland in the hallway, and they're like, oh crap, Sarah Hyland. To the fire pit, everybody goes. Sarah tells them that the top 4 couples will be in the finale, and Sarah's standing so far away from the couples, I don't know how they can hear her. So the couples that are saved are Carmen and Kenzo, Hannah and Marco, Cassie and Leo, and Taylor and Bergie. So those are our 4 finalists. One of them will be the winner. So we have to say goodbye to Johnny and Scott. Johnny, who was a lot of fun, very sympathetic figure on this season, didn't really do any wrong, and was a major contributor to a lot of the entertaining storylines. Someone who I really would like to see on the upcoming Love Island games. Overall, I felt very positively about her time on the show. And Scott, who I hated on his season of Love Island UK, came back here, had a better run, I guess. Seems like he actually found a good connection, which he didn't on his season. He wasn't as big of an asshole on this season as he was on his season, but his season was only like a month ago, so I can't expect him to grow that much. And even in the episodes I'm talking about today, he was back at his old tricks. So I would say this is a tolerable amount of Scott. Please, dear God, not a minute more. We have to say goodbye to Destiny, who I remember I was very shocked that she survived the first recoupling. I was pretty sure that she was going to get dumped there over Jasmine, and she ended up having a very rocky road throughout the entire season, being a very terrible communicator at a lot of points. But I really like her for the entertainment factor. I think she is on my short list of people I would like to see come back for this Love Island game show, which I have no idea what it's going to be about, but want to see Destiny on it. And goodbye to Kyle. We don't know much about Kyle, but we do know he has a dangling earring, and we learned in the previous episodes, don't trust a man with a dangly earring. So we like you, Kyle. It was a pleasure, but we don't trust you. So I figured I would record these 2 episodes and then take a break to watch the finale and then come back and talk about it. I hope that Leo and Cassie win. If I had to predict, I would say 4th place, Carmen and Kenzo. 3rd, Bergie and Taylor. 2nd, Leo and Cassie. 1st, Marco and Hannah. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have all the tea. I see everything so clearly now. So we get to the finale episode. Taylor and Bergie talk again and commit to putting in the work and making the long distance happen. They go to bed. All the beds are bumping this evening. The next day, it's time for last dates. Cassie and Leo are first. They go on a helicopter ride and they even fly over the villa. It looks like a lot of fun. They land in a sand dune and have a picnic on a blanket. They reflect on their journey together. He asks her to be his girlfriend. She says yes. How lovely. I'm not going to keep saying this. They all have the same conversation where the guy asks the girl to be the girlfriend and they say yes. Carmen and Kenzo are next. Carmen is planning on saying I love you in advance, which is very forced and corny. While everyone is gone, Hannah and Bergie get the chance to sit down and reflect about their friendship. Hannah was a really good friend to a lot of people in the house this season, but especially to Bergie. I feel like she really made his life a lot easier in there. So Kenzo and Carmen go on their date. They walk down a beach and there is a Fijian choir of about 8 to 10 people singing to welcome them. And the song that they're singing seems to be about Love Island. So after the 30 seconds of singing, they sit on a couch and they get a TV tray with some supper on it. And this date kind of sucks compared to a helicopter ride. They all kind of suck compared to the helicopter ride. The date is boring, but they painfully eke out that they love each other. This was uncomfortable to watch. Sound off in the comments. Was this uncomfortable to watch? Taylor and Bergie get their date. This one is also just sitting on the couch. No choir, no helicopter. He reads to her from his journal, and I guess he spent 4 years writing love letters to his hypothetical future girlfriend. And this letter is pretty cringe. So yeah, they're boyfriend-girlfriend now. Then fire breathers show up out of nowhere, and it's pretty cool. It's definitely the second best date. Nothing beats a helicopter, though. Marco and Hannah are last, and they actually get a table and chairs and dinner. How lovely. Now, this is a date. Like, if you're taking me on a date and there's no table and chairs. He says that Hannah was sent to him by his mom and asks her, obviously, to make it official. And then there's one live singer, a man with a guitar. This was very underwhelming to me. I went to a restaurant the other day, and there was a singer with a guitar just like this. You know what I didn't do the other day? I didn't take a helicopter to a sand dune. They all go to bed, the lights go out in the villa. The next day they all get ready because at night it is the finale. The boys and girls separate to get ready and write their vows. And then at night they meet up. They're looking all dapper and looking lovely. They exchange their vows as they do every season, which is always extremely boring. Even Sarah doesn't have time for these vows. She shows up in the middle of the finale after the vows are over. She's dressed in red. She's ready for another bloodbath. She says if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that Soul Ties is crazy. I feel you, Sarah. So it's time for the results. In 4th place, we have Carmen and Kenzo. We say goodbye to Carmen, who came into the villa a few days in, was not afraid to shake things up, and definitely added a lot of character to this cast. She was fighting for her life in the game for a while. There was some ickiness that happened with Bergie around halfway through. She's not afraid to call people out or to stir the pot and be messy. So I really appreciated her. I feel like she contributed a lot to this season. And Kenzo, who was there. If Carmen's the Barbie, Kenzo is the Ken, because he seems to only exist to be partnered up with Carmen. There were times when he would randomly get really excited about certain things, but overall, he really wasn't. In 3rd place, we had Taylor S. and Bergie. I'm still on the fence about Taylor because part of me questions her intentions of being with Bergie. Like, I hope their connection is real, but the Casa Amor girls had to see pairing up with Bergie as an easy ticket to the win, right? They came into that knowing that he was very popular. So that's what gives me pause. But overall, if Bergie is Barbie, then she's the Ken, because her existence in the house was to be Bergie's match. We actually didn't really learn much about her at all. I couldn't tell you a factoid about Taylor S., but I could tell you a lot about Bergie. I issued him the first apology I'd ever given out on my podcast after being disappointed that he wasn't eliminated the first week, because I felt like I had severely judged a book by its cover, and I do admit when I am wrong. Though I will stand by, that necklace that he has with the shells and the dice needs to be thrown away or burned in a furnace. This entire season really was the Bergie show. I really enjoyed watching him grow, pretty much from a boy into a young man. His big saboteur is his grandfather, who really threw him under the bus, got in the bus, drove over him and Taylor, backed up, ran them back over. They were really the only couple out of the top 4 who had negativity thrown their way from these messages. If I had to make a prediction, I think if they do a reunion of this season, Taylor S. and Bergie won't still be together, and Bergie might be on our Love Island games, whatever the hell that is. So Sarah announces the winners, and the winners are, that was my drum roll, Hannah and Marco. I don't want to brag, but my predictions earlier were spot on. So this ends the saga of my favorite couple, Leo and Cassie. Leo, who really was the Riz master of the season, I feel like he could talk himself out of any situation. He's the kind of person that the casting team should be looking out for. He's fun, funny, silly. Obviously, the Johnny Cassie situation wasn't the best, but I feel like the narrative that they gave us was very interesting, because very rarely do we get the person on these shows who does something wrong and then admits that they're wrong, holds themselves accountable to it, apologizes for it, and successfully earns forgiveness from the person that they're asking for it from and the viewing public. It's hard because when you think about it, it's a lot easier to grant forgiveness to somebody who's likable because you want to forgive them. And the more I think about it, the more it gives me a headache. So it's a different story for a different day. So sound off in the comments if you have a degree in psychology or sociology. I would love to hear what you have to say about forgiveness. We also say goodbye to Cassie, who had a really big growth journey on this season. Through the situation with Leo, her character was definitely tested. It's definitely not easy to have to stand up for yourself in the face of someone who's being extremely wrong to you. I think the way that she carried herself through the hardships this season showed a great example of someone with high levels of self-respect, which is why Cassie is my favorite person from this season of Love Island. Because when you have self-respect, you attract the respect of others. But let's talk about our winners, Marco and Hannah. I was really tough on Marco in the beginning of the season. I wasn't the biggest fan of his. I didn't really see him as someone on first impression that could win the show. I guess I judged him because he was 22 years old and he was talking about wanting kids and wanting to get married. Maybe I was just being a bitter hater. Go nuts, you 22-year-olds out there. If you're listening to this and you're 22 and you want to get married and have kids, go get married and pop those babies out. I do think that he got lucky with meeting Hannah, who brought out all the best in him. He says that he feels like Hannah was sent to him by his mother, and that could be true because a few days into this show, Hannah came out of nowhere, a great woman who was there to support him, be there for him the entire way. They had really no problems. And I guess with that, I'll talk about Hannah, who was a very grounded figure this season. She's extremely down to earth, very stable. When they got the video message about Marco's ex being there, she was not bothered at all. She could see right through production's games, and they were trying to create drama with her and Marco, and she just would not allow it. And they didn't need to have drama because America loved them and they got the votes at the end of the day. So in this case, cool heads prevailed. Congratulations to Marco and Hannah. They have to decide if they want to keep the money or split it. Why do they keep doing this? They never ever keep the money. Marco has to decide and he splits it, obviously. They all celebrate, they cheer, and jump in the pool. So that's it. It's over. We get a preview for Love Island games. Apparently they're going to be fighting for love and survival. Still have no idea what the show's about. Definitely going to be tuning in and covering it. So don't forget to subscribe because I'll be here to talk about every episode of Love Island games. I also cover other shows if you want to watch my other videos. Leave me a comment. Who did you want to win this season? What did you think about the final week? Other than that, have a great week. Bye!